All right. Good morning. Welcome back to Twin Stick Garage. So, if you're new to the channel, I like rebuilding old trucks. It's a hobby of mine, and I've really been going hard on this Smokey and the Bandit replica truck. I actually got the truck and the trailer to the Let's Go Truck Show. If you watched the previous episode, you would have saw all that fun. I mean, it was a great day. Special thanks to all the fans that came out and voted for old Twin Sticks. I ended up taking away Best in Show, which was just a real honor. Met a lot of wonderful people. Thanks to all my friends and family that came out, and yeah, it was a great day. Thanks for Let's Go for putting the show on and getting me this awesome picture of the missus and I in front of the truck. I mean, it's just beautiful. But today what I wanted to do was start working on my other projects. So I figure I wanted to get going on little by little. My goal is to get, all this truck really needs is paint. It doesn't look like much now, but this actually was a really nice truck when it had all the chrome on it. But about, I don't know, sometime maybe a dozen episodes or so ago, before I got really going on Snowman, I drove this truck out, dropped all the chrome off, drove it out, and I used paint stripper to try and get the layers, multiple layers of old paint off of this thing. And it worked decent, but it really didn't get the job done. As you can see, there's still a lot of paint that still needs to come off of here. And I think what ended up happening was there was two problems. One of which is I don't believe the paint strippers nowadays are as strong as they used to be. I mean, there's probably a lot of EPA restrictions because people just put it on there and then just wash it off, so they don't want to get it into the groundwater and that type of thing. So they're not as strong as they used to be. And then the other challenge is when I did this, it was the middle of summer and I had this outside and the sun was just beating on it. And I think what happened was the chemical didn't actually have a chance to eat into the paint before it got dried out from the sun. So winter's right around the corner here. We actually just got our first frost, and I'm thinking this is a great opportunity to wheel this truck outside and put one more coat of paint stripper on there and try and get as much of the original paint off of there as I can. The more I get off, obviously, the less sanding I have to do. So I figure that'll be a worthwhile activity, and then I'll put the truck back into the shop. And then the other goal that I wanted to accomplish today was I wanted to use my grass gantry. I'm going to swing it over here. I'll move the wildfire lift over, and then I want to actually pick the bunk up and then move it back and set it back on the frame. And that way I can properly work on the inside and the outside of the gap there and do this properly, because I can't get in there otherwise. If I don't, I know it's not going to be turned out into a good product unless I do that. So again, like I always say, what's the best kind of work? Rework. I'm going to have to pick the bunk up. I'll have to take the inner seal out of there. It's going to be a lot of work, but I think it'll be worth it. So we'll get going on that and then see what else I can accomplish today. Yeah. Okay, so before I get rolling today, I got this special package in the mail, and there's a guy that I like to follow out there on Instagram and YouTube. He goes by the name of Iron Mike or Big Dad. He just makes me laugh. He's a real trucker and he hauls heavy equipment. And I noticed one time he was wearing these boots, and I didn't recognize the brand name. And he was talking about them in one of his videos, and they're called Brunt work boots. So I actually checked out the website, and they are a wicked company. It's just a guy that grew up in a blue collar family, and he thought, you know what, I want to make, I think his name's Eric, is the CEO. And he says, I want to make boots and workwear for real people that do real work. And I like it because he's kind of an up-and-comer. He's trying to get his company going, and he's competing with, of course, the Carhartts of the world. But he makes a quality product for people that actually do real work. So I reached out to him, and he said, yeah, we'd be happy to send you some boots. Because old Twin Sticks, he's got these, look at these shabby shoes that I'm using to work on my truck. So it was beyond a need for old Twin Sticks, and it was nice of Eric and the guys to send me some gear. So let's see what they look like here. It's not a shoebox, it's a toolbox. Oh, that's nice. Oh, look at these. Man, those are almost too nice to be doing work in. Those are awesome. Thanks guys for sending me that. We're gonna give those a go. And then what do we get in the other box? Oops. Oh, look at that. A Brunt hat and a Brunt shirt. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, so I'm gonna enjoy wearing that. So thanks for that. If you guys are interested in getting some of this this real Brunt workwear, go check them out at bruntworkwear.com. Oh man, those are nice. Thanks again, guys. All right, let's get to work. Oh man, I'm excited to get this truck done. This, of course, is this was the truck that started the whole channel. And as I mentioned, I got going pretty hard on Snowman just because I wanted to get it done for the show, and it was a photo finish. But now I'm gonna get going on my other projects. So we'll drive this old girl out of here. Oh, this cat is so loyal. Man, that's cool. It's a little odd though, not trying to drive this thing without being able to see out the windshield. There she goes. I actually didn't get a chance to drive this truck much this year because I did so much work on Snowman. I think I only drove it once, but that'll be a lot different next summer when this thing's all painted. Yeah, that's probably good. Okay, so what I'm thinking I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna try and hit this with the old Vevor polisher. Now this thing is a real time saver when it comes to knocking old paint off. If you saw the episode where I was working on the Thermo King reefer, this actually did a really nice job. So Vevor was nice enough to send me a whole bunch more of these sanding wheels. So I'll get going on that and try and knock as much of the paint off as well. I was, finally read the instructions on the paint stripper, and it said you do want to try and sand it down to allow it to eat into the paint a little better. So I'll really try. I did some light sanding, as you can see there, but I'm thinking maybe that was another reason that it didn't actually eat into the paint. So I'll mask up and I'll start hitting it hard with that buffer wheel, and it'll take a lot of the flaky stuff off, and then I'll know the areas that I need to paint with the paint stripper. But yeah, this is really exciting. I'm really looking forward to getting this truck finished up and back on the road. And if you're curious, a lot of people are asking, well, what are you going to do with the Snowman trailer now that it's winter's coming? Man, old Twin Stick's getting soft. My hands are cold. How did I ever used to work in that -20 nonsense? But anyway, what I was thinking of doing is to try and protect the wrap is I'm going to get a big hay tarp and just pull it up and over the whole trailer, and then just drape it down the sides, and then maybe stitch it together underneath with either rope or stretchy cords to try and hold it tight against the wall there, and just try and keep the sun and the snow off of the awesome wrap that Tony put on there. Now a lot of people are saying, well, why don't you build a lean-to? Well, you can't really build a lean-to off of this end of the shop, and there's just no way to actually get the trailer around to the other side. So it kind of has to stay on this side. I'm going to back it up there and then put my camper in front of it. But I'm thinking a giant tarp will help protect it and hopefully extend the life of that wrap. But anyway, with that, let's get going on my pride and joy here, well, little by little. Look like a Smurf by the end of the day. So as I was saying, Vevor sent me some new sanding wheels or drums, and they're you can get all this stuff on Amazon. And I find when you put a new wheel on, it works a little better because you got a nice sharp edge to get in the corners against a lip or something. So
we'll get going on this. But this thing's actually making pretty quick work of this project. I mean, nothing's quick about body work. Everyone wants a nice painted truck till it's time to sand it all down. But this thing's helping. Oh yeah. The other nice thing about a new wheel is since it's a larger diameter, it actually spins faster and takes down the material quicker. Now, with this bare metal, I'm going to have to use probably an etching primer, because aluminum's sometimes tricky to get paint to stick to or primer to stick to. So what I'll probably do is do the whole truck in etch to get something to stick to the bare metal, and then I'll go over it again with high build, sand that down. I might do high build again, sand that down, and try and get it as absolutely smooth as I can before I start laying on the blue. And as I mentioned in that previous episode, last time I started doing body work on this, what I'm going to do with the colors, I don't think I'm going to do a white hood. That wasn't very well received by the fans, but I think I'll just paint the whole thing in blue, and then I'll just sit back and look at it, and then figure out what might look nice with regards to some type of 70s vintage stripes. But I'm still a long way off from that. So what I need to do here is, I just did a patch job. This was all rusted out. This is where the mount goes, the upper and lower mount for the exhaust stack. And this was all rusted out, and I just did kind of a half-assed job in here because it was temporary. So I just filled it with fiberglass. So that's going to have to get cut out. And maybe I'll get my friend Blake to help me weld in some new metal there, both upper and lower. And then I was also looking, it looks like this truck at one point in time had some old school stripes on there, a white bold stripe with a little bit of an upper and lower pinstripe. Looks like there was almost two of them. So I could go with something like that, but again, I think I'll just paint the whole thing blue and then step back and go from there, and I'll just put some vinyl stripes on. Or I might just leave it blue, all blue, and then put the chrome on. Or maybe I'll get someone to come along and do, because if you remember, when I bought this truck, it had some cool old school pinstripe painting. So maybe I'll try and recreate that. Again, there you can see a little bit of it there. I'm not really sure. All I know is I want to get it sanded smooth, primed, and painted blue. That's the goal. Oh, it's going to take a while.
So I thought I'd take a little break from sanding because it's not the most stimulating work out there. And I thought I'd open a little bit of the mail. So I got a fan actually sent me this neat magazine, and I was like, his name's Kevin from Indiana. And he sent me a hot rod magazine. I'm like, okay, that's cool. It's got an 68 Charger on there. But then I realized why he sent me that. And there's this really cool truck called Thor, I guess it is. Is it Thor? Freak alert. What the hell does he call this truck? Yeah, Thor. And it's a 359 Peterbilt, but it's got two 12V71. So it's got 24 cylinders with just straight pipes. I mean, that is a heck of a truck. I can't imagine that thing going down the road. But that was a neat, it was neat to read that article. So really appreciate you sending me that, Kevin. And then I got something from Doug in Florida. Hey, a friend has purchased a 2024 880 Kenworth. I sent him some decals and I thought you might like some too. Oh, that is really cool. Check that out. It's a Kenworth with the Punisher skull on there. So yes, thank you for that, Doug. I really appreciate that. And then I got something from Alex from Montana. Oh, look at that. He actually drew me a picture of the Duke. Hi, Alex again. I have a YouTube channel called Alex's Trucks. Oh, that's awesome. I'll have to check that out. Isn't that nice? Picture of the Duke. It looks like it's been chopped down. That's a neat look. And he's even got the fenders, the tub fenders over the back. So that's very cool. Thanks for that, Alex. And then I also wanted to highlight, there's a lady stopped by a couple, well, but this was back in the summer, and she said she was an author of the Ontario Antique Trucks magazine. So she gave me a few copies of it, and this is just a wicked magazine. And anyway, she was talking to me, and we got talking about the Snowman truck, and she said, you know, I'd really like to highlight that truck in an upcoming magazine. So we worked together on the article, and she just sent me this. Thank you for your story. Enjoy. So this is the fall 2023 edition. And there's Kenny Dubuque's, his big long nose. Kenny, you saw that in the 100th anniversary Kenworth Truck Show. But then if you go into near the end, look at that. Does that guy look familiar? Huh? I finally made it into a magazine. How cool is that? So yeah, it's a really neat article. So thank you for putting me in the magazine, Penny. So if you want to check that out, Antique Trucks Canada. It's really cool. Okay, I guess I better get back to sanding. The truck's not going to sand itself. Bodywork is a lot of work. Yeah, so what we'll do is, man, this stuff is thick. Check this out. Look at the thickness there. So there's probably, well, there's bare metal, and then there's 1 or 2 coats of paint and primer. I don't know if this is filler. It almost looks like filler. And then more primer, and then another coat of paint. I mean, that's probably a 1/16 of an inch thickness. So really gonna have to work to sand that down. Otherwise, you'll definitely see that when I go to paint it. But what I'll probably do now is whip up a batch of that paint stripper and just paint it on there. Now, unfortunately, you can tell, obviously this has been painted a lot of times. It's obviously been sanded a lot of times too. And I hate when the huck bolts don't maintain their original profile, and guys just get lazy and sand over them and sand them flat, because they should be rounded like that guy there. But a lot of these ones here, they just sanded right over them and sanded them flat. But not much I can do about that now, unless I wanted to drill out all of those and put in new hucks. But I can live with it. I can live with it. Okay. So like I say, we'll get a batch of that paint stripper on there and start painting it on, and hopefully it eats it a little better, but making progress. Now, some of the viewers out there, in the last episode where I used this stuff, they mentioned some other products, orange something, or there was a couple other brands of paint stripper, but the problem was I actually looked and I can't seem to get that stuff in Canada. So I don't know if Canada only lets us have weak sissy paint remover or what, but we'll give this a go and try this one more time, and as good as it gets, that's going to be as good as it gets, and then just sand it from there. But I thought one more round, we'll see if this works. Now, the last time, if you remember, I started using a paint roller to try and go faster, and as efficient as it was, I think it was putting it on a little too thin. So at least with a brush, it's slower, but you can kind of lay it on a little thicker. So we'll do it the way it says to do it on the instructions. Whew. I wonder if I should be wearing this stuff's pretty strong smelling. I wonder if I should be wearing a half mask. Oh well, there's lots of fresh air outside. I'm kind of getting tired of wearing a mask. Well, no, it's actually pretty strong smelling. best to keep your lungs safe, I suppose. I read somewhere that all you should put in your lungs is air, and that's probably pretty good advice.
And away we go.
Well, the instructions say to leave it on there for a half hour, so I'll leave it on there for at least that. But you can see it's starting to eat the paint, so every little bit helps. There, it's eating a little more there. Just trying to get as much of this old paint off of here as I can, because sanding it just takes so much darn work and time. I'm kind of trying to get ahead of the game, especially around the huck bolts. So the fact that it's actually cleaning all the huck heads off nicely and then eating around there, that'll make it a lot easier when I got to use a little sanding wheel to go around each and every one of those huck bolts. But yeah, I think it's working better today. Again, probably because doesn't have direct sun beating on it, drying it out. Oh yeah, look at that. It's really starting to eat into that. All right, well, I'll keep slapping it on there and see how far we can get.
Huh. I feel like Biff.
I want to make sure that we get 2 coats of wax this time, not just 1.
Just finishing up the second coat now.
Now, Biff, don't con me.
All right, that's pretty much the end of it. Okay.
Yeah. Oh man, that's got a distinct smell to it. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with the way it's coming out. I have to say, I'm really impressed with how well it worked on the hood. So whatever type of paint, again, I bought this hood separately off a guy in Saskatchewan. So the paint that was on here, the layers of paint that was on here, reacted very well with the aircraft stripper. And same with the doors. I mean, as you can see, I laid it on really thick this time and then probably put 3 or 4 coats in some spots. So it's eating into it well, but it's not really biting into the paint on the bunk here. And the only thing I can really figure out is, of course, I bought this bunk off a guy on Kijiji, and he just had it repainted at the time. And it's kind of it's a late or an early 379 model bunk, and I think whoever painted this put on a different type of paint. I don't know if it's very chemical resistant, so it might even be the Endura paint. Endura is actually an Alberta company, and I think they developed their paint for the oil patch, so it was resistant to chemical and salt and all that other nasty stuff that those trucks are exposed to. But I mean, I'm impressed with it. The paint stripper doesn't even, I mean, up at the top there, it doesn't even bite into it. So I'm actually looking to seeing if I can get this Sovereign blue color in Endura paint and maybe try that out. But I think this will work. I'm gonna let it sit now. I'll go run in and have some lunch and say hi to Mrs. Twin Sticks. And then I'll come back out here and hose it all off. And then I'll get the drum sander out again, sand it all down, wash, rinse, repeat.
Always repeat.
So I figured I'd give you an update on the Iron Duke cabover project as well. So as you can see, Blake's been killing himself on the exhaust, and he's really starting to make some progress now. So we got a whole bunch of stainless steel pipe and pie cuts from Lyle Stainless in Burlington, Ontario. And Blake's been using that material to make this custom stainless exhaust. So he built the elbow coming out of the turbo, built the custom Y pipe, and then these elbows here. And now he had to go from 5-inch to 8-inch because these 90-degree elbows that he custom made will be the base for the 8-inch straight pipe stacks that are going to go all the way up these uprights. So it's really starting to come together now. If you want to see more on how Blake actually built all of this, go check out his channel at Flyweld Fabricate. But I am really excited to actually hear this thing run. It's going to be loud. All right, so I'm going to give the the paint stripper a little more time because I figure if some is good, more is better, and it'll try and eat into that paint even more. So while I'm doing that, what I need to do is I got to get Snowman out of the way, and then I got to swap the gantry. I got to get the gantry install one, and then the wildfire lift install two. So I'll go ahead and move Snowman out and then start the swap. Cats start better than Cummins. But I have to say the Jakes on a Cummins are way louder than the cats. So they each have their merits. Okay. That's how you know it's good, when it's still smoking after you turn it off. All right, so it's still a little smoky in there, so I'll let the fan do its work and try and get all that Cummins smoke out of there. And I figure, well, while it's doing that, I'll give you guys an update on what my plans are for the winter. So obviously, I want to try and get this thing painted, and I want to keep working on the Duke, but I also want to get going on the TransAm. If you'll recall, I built that wildfire lift back in the spring, and I picked up a TransAm for Mrs. Twin Sticks. You can't have a Smokey in the Bandit truck without a Smokey in the Bandit TransAm. And I kind of just, we drove it around a little bit this summer, but it's been parked in the garage over there for the last little while. So my plan is actually I need to do some modification to actually get this truck into that garage there, and that's where I'll park it over the winter, and that'll actually open up this middle stall. And I'll spin the wildfire lift around when I do that. And I'll put the TransAm on there and then start working on the car, because my goal for next year is to have the TransAm complete in time for the show, and this Peterbilt built in time for the show. So I got a lot of work to do before I can realize that dream, but I do want to get working on that TransAm. We'll pull that little 301 engine out of there. I gotta work with my daughter Reese to pull that 6.6 liter or 400 cubic inch engine apart and take it in. We'll get it all rebuilt and done up, and we'll put that in there. And then I got to do the body work on the TransAm, and I'm actually thinking of getting Tony to wrap. Obviously Tony was the guy that did the wrap on the Snowman trailer. I'm thinking I might get him to wrap the TransAm in high gloss gold, and then put the Screaming Eagle or Screaming Fire Chicken on there on the front, and then all the gold pinstripes. So lots of work that needs doing, lots of backlog, but I guess the upside is you get lots of episodes. Hey Biff, how's it going? So I guess with that, I better get going on swapping the gantry and the lift. Bada bing, bada boom.
Big boom.
Yeah, big bada boom.
That wildfire lift sure is handy, and the fact that it's not bolted down, it allows me to move stuff around. And this Gratz gantry that Dawn Gratz made for me, I can't thank her enough, because from the days when I used to try and lift everything by hand, this is sure handy. So again, what I'll do is I'll back the Pete right underneath, and then I got 2 chain falls, and I'll just pick each side of the bunk and lift it up, and we'll set it back. Well, I guess I could set it back. I might have to block it up here, because the idea, I guess, would be I only need enough room to get in there to work. So I guess if I lift it up and then set it back here, I'll just have to block the front so it doesn't crumple the fenders. But yeah, that should work good. Okay, now on to hosing off all this wonderful stuff. All right, well, I think we made an improvement there. It didn't take it all off, so I mean, jury's out on this aircraft paint stripper. I don't know if it's just, I don't think it's my technique. I don't think it's the weather. I think the product's just not that strong. But I mean, it knocked a lot of the paint off. What I'm thinking I might do now is spark up my Vevor drum sander there, polisher, and that's fun. And while it's still kind of wet, try and hit it again and knock off as much as I can. Plus, since it's outside, have all the little flakes and little bits of dust going into the gravel as opposed to putting it in the shop. So I think that's what I'll do. I'll keep grinding here and, like I say, try and knock as much as I possibly can off before I put it back in the shop. Man, it's been a long day, but I think this is, any progress is progress, right?
Right.
Yeah, I have to say that thing is pretty useful for knocking all this stuff down. Now, I don't know if this is filler from a previous paint job, but look how pitted it is. So I basically have to knock it all the way down to the bare metal. Sure would have been nice if the, look, you can see it there too. Sure would have been nice if the paint stripper had taken it to bare metal. Oh, this is why getting your semi-truck painted costs tens of thousands of dollars. A friend of mine went and got a quote from Kenworth to get his truck done, and I think they quoted him 30 grand. So I guess that pays for a lot of Saturdays for old Twin Sticks to sit here and grind away. But eventually, if I knock it all down and get it smooth, the bodywork's not that serious. Now I got a couple little dings, and of course when I put the bunk on with my forklift, I was not too bright, and I ended up mucking up some of the corners here, so I got to fix that. What else? There's a lot of rock chips from the steer tires, tossing rocks. Not too bad on this side, but the other side's pretty bad. Tossing rocks on the underside of the fender, so I'll have to do some work there. Where is it? It actually doesn't even look that bad. A couple little bumps there. I'm gonna try and pound out, and then I'll just use a light layer of filler. So it shouldn't take too long. Now the cowl is a little buggered up. This is gonna take a bit of working because it had swelled and moved forward. I'm gonna have to try and sand that down and make that match up nicely to the window or the windshield seal. But other than that, the bodywork is not bad. And that's kind of why I bought this bunk, is because it was in such good shape, and the one that was on this truck was just hammered. So I guess what I'll do is I'll keep sanding away, see how far I get. It's starting to get a little later in the day here, and I did promise Mrs. Twin Sticks I'd take her out for dinner. So I guess what I'll do is I'll wrap the episode up there. You don't need to watch me sand the rest of the truck. You kind of get the idea. So I'll keep grinding and see how far I get this evening. But there is one more thing that I do need to do before I end this episode. So I did have a minty fan that dropped me off a 2-4 pack of Coors at the show, but I still got this. I still got some beer left over in the keg. That wasn't a very good pour, but that's okay. I'm trying to do it one-handed. So like I say, hope you enjoyed the episode. Thanks for following along. Go ahead and hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do that too. Feel free to comment. Tell me what I did right. Tell me what I did wrong. And with that, I'll bid you farewell and hope to see you next week. Oh yeah, and don't ever forget, if you got it, a trucker brought it.